Alright, welcome to my series on how to play the guitar, and I'm going to break this into beginner, intermediate, and advanced. In this beginner section, getting started, there'll be 5 videos, and you're watching the first one. Basically, how to buy a guitar, what to look for in buying a guitar. If you want to get started, you'll need a guitar. When you look at playing the guitar, and you're not sure exactly what kind of music you want to play, you gotta first sort of figure out, do I want an acoustic or an electric guitar? And they have different pluses and minuses. Playing around a campfire, that's a little better with an acoustic guitar. The electric guitar will need an amplifier, although they have these small little devices that amplify the sound, and you can wear headphones, and then you can practice even quieter than with an acoustic. But I'm going to show you some of my guitars and go over the parts of the guitar and what to look for as you're buying a guitar. And right off the bat, this is the one I play a lot because it's not that expensive of a guitar. It's a Jasmine, and that's a low-line guitar of a better company, and so I think that's a good thing rather than a no-name or unknown name, I should say. So when you're looking at buying a guitar, you want to make sure that it's nice and flat across here. On an acoustic guitar, it'll start to pull up the wood. That has a lot to do with humidity and things, and the tension on the strings. So you want this to all be nice and flat, and on the body of the guitar. And this is the bridge of the guitar. You want to make sure that's not separating from right there. Sometimes it'll sort of separate. And this is the sound hole and the rosette, they call that. And some have real neat decorative rosettes. The wood inlay and different things. Then you'll notice that there's 2 different types of wood here. This one on top, darker one, is your fingerboard on the neck of the guitar. And better quality guitars not only will have this, but they'll have another strip of wood through here, and that prevents any type of warping. And on electric guitars, the neck is usually bolted on or glued on, which is better, or one solid piece of wood, and that's the best. So this guitar did not come with a pickup inside, and I installed one myself, so it's pretty easy to do. And so this is an acoustic electric, but there's no adjustments for volume or anything like that. And acoustic electric is a good kind of middle way between best of both worlds. This acoustic electric here does have adjustments for tone and volume. It's got an active pickup, meaning it needs a battery put in it. So that can be a plus or minus. I personally don't like to have batteries. But this is one of my more favorite guitars, so I keep a humidifier in it. And one thing you notice about this guitar is that it's a cutaway. And that, if you're going to play rhythm and leads, you want to be able to get to these frets easy. And so that's a cutaway. This is also a shallow body. And that just makes it a little more streamlined to hold. It's not quite as loud acoustically with no amplifier. But there's another type of acoustic electric versus this one that doesn't have any type of adjustments. And this one thing also to look for is these are enclosed tuning keys. They're sealed with a little gear in there, and there's some grease, and it's all sealed up. And that's a little bit better than something like this, where the gears are all exposed. Sometimes these will get loose and they'll rattle, and so you got to keep them tight and things like that. But this guitar is a 12-string, and I wouldn't recommend that starting out. It's a little harder to play, but it's got a nice full sound. This is a removable pickup, so you can make any acoustic guitar an acoustic electric with one of these and plug it in. But so there's a 12-string. Now, besides acoustic electric or an acoustic electric, you're going to be wanting to get a guitar that doesn't have any problems. I mentioned separating here or warping and things like that. But another thing is to look at the neck. And you look down the neck, see that it's straight. If you haven't been looking at guitar necks for a long time, you might not know what to look for. So then what you can do is you can play each note. And so I'm listening for a clear tone. Take your time, play every note on the guitar. You'll hear one coming up here. It's not a very clear tone. It's got a little buzz in there. I don't know if you can hear that, if that'll go through on the video, but it's a real obvious buzz. The fret in front of that either needs to be filed or this has to be addressed somehow. But another thing you can do, you can play harmonics, and if you hear all three of those, usually that says that the spacing, this was built precisely and it'll have a good sound. If that's off, sometimes your guitar will be in tune here, but it won't be as in tune up here, and that can be kind of a pain. So anyways, looking at a guitar, one thing that was nice about this one, it has a little bash on the back and bashed in a little there, and so I got a pretty good deal on it. It didn't affect the sound or the playability. So that's something. Look for a guitar that maybe has a little cosmetic damage. This is the electric that I like to play, and it's a copy of a Les Paul. You know, if you have a couple grand, I'd recommend buying the Les Paul. But this is a Epiphone, Gibson Epiphone, and that's a copy of a Les Paul, and it's about $500. But on the electric guitar, you'll have pickups. This selects where I can have the front one, the back one, or both. And you'll have volume and tone adjustments here. And what's nice about this guitar is it goes all the way up and has 24 frets on it. And so, well, actually, this one, not that one. This one has 24 frets on it. So that gives you 2 full octaves. And if you're into lead guitar, that might be something you'd want, because then everything you play down here, you can play it identically up here just by going up to this higher octave. So 22 versus 24 frets, slight difference, but I kind of like the 24 frets. And another thing too, think about what kind of music you want to play, because these have real hot pickups for more like heavy metal lead guitar. And this might look a little strange playing this in like a bluegrass band. But this is a BC Rich, and when I was in high school, this was the coolest guitar you could probably have. But at any rate, more for like heavy metal lead guitar. And then one thing though about this guitar is it's kind of heavy. And you know, this is a good all-around sort of rock guitar, but you know, there are some guitars that are just a little bit lighter. And you can't go wrong sticking with the real known names like Fender, Gibson, Ibanez. If you're looking at an old guitar, you're looking at a real vintage guitar. This one's pretty dusty because it doesn't get played, because all the potentiometers, the pots they call them, the volume control knobs, they'll get crackly, and you might get loose connections in this, or loose connections in the jack here. So it's kind of a neat, nostalgic thing, and you know, maybe I want to play some old, you know, classic rock from the 30s. This would be pretty neat. It got F-holes in it, so it has a little bit of an acoustic aspect to it, but you know, if you want to put the money into restoring it, you probably will have to with the electronics and things like that. So there's something about buying an old guitar. This is a neat guitar. This is a Ibanez, and this is a studio version of it, and model, I should say. And this guitar was made to be a high-end guitar, but it's rather old. Now, some of the workmanship in this I think is as good as some of the much more expensive guitars today. You'll see it's a glued-in neck. You'll see it's got 3 pieces of wood for the neck, 4 if you count the fingerboard, and sometimes that will be painted on, so make sure it's real. And usually it's a harder, darker wood. But I went ahead and did restore the electronics in this because it'd be worth it. I rescued this from a pawn shop for a few $100. It's probably worth $1,000. So just because it's actually an antique. So there are some good antiques. Then you got bass guitars, and I will do some music lessons after I do the 6-string guitar on bass guitar. But I just got this. This is a Squier, Fender Squier, and anything with Squier, that's kind of their lower line. And you want the Stratocaster if you want something a little better. And but I got this so I could play bass on my record and in songs I'm recording. And the thing is, with a bass, I kind of decided I would need to play the bass a lot more and deserve a better bass before I'd upgrade. So I got a nice inexpensive one, and it seems to work just great for the small amount that I use it. But I kind of always come back to this one, and you'll have your favorite guitar. You know, you might want to keep your first guitar if you don't need to sell it to upgrade, which I had to do, unfortunately. All right, so that concludes this first lesson in this series, How to Play the Guitar, and the Getting Started section. Like I said, there'll be 5 videos. This was the first one. How to buy a guitar, what to look for in buying a guitar. And the next one I'm going to get into, so you got your guitar. You've considered things like, do I want it to be an electric or an acoustic electric guitar? Then the next thing is how to tune your guitar and how to hold it, and we'll get started. After that, we'll get into some finger exercises and chords. So, hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'll see you at the next one.